Yeah, just a quick review of the book, How to Throw the Javelin Properly, in parentheses. Definitely, anybody can throw a javelin, but can you throw it properly and get it to do what you want it to do? Not too many books out on the javelin. I've looked at a couple of them. There's a couple of them I really like. This is one I really like. It's divided up into 10 chapters, so I'll go over each briefly just to give you an idea what's in the book. The first chapter starts out with an introduction. Second chapter is getting started at the beginner level. 3 goes over techniques. They talk about the grip, throwing, and then the run up. Fourth chapter goes into training. 5 talks about muscles. 6 about equipment. 7 is about avoiding injuries, which is really important. 8 is competition preparation tips. 9 is a conclusion, and then 10 they end with the book kind of with useful links, which is always good. So yeah, as you can see, there's lots of information here about javelin throwing. And as you can see, each chapter deals with a different aspect of throwing. So I really like the way it was organized. So I think all in all, it's a really good resource. Now, if you do have a shoulder problem that's interfering with your javelin throwing, one other resource I could recommend, the 6-minute torn rotator cuff for seniors. You can kind of ignore the seniors because any level can use this program. Basically, if you're looking at your shoulder, it's a shallow ball and socket joint, and the shoulder is heavily involved in javelin throwing. So what gives it the most stability is the muscles, and of all the muscles, the rotator cuff is the one that really stabilizes your rotator cuff. So if you want to get maximal joint stability, you got to have a really strong rotator cuff. So this actually has a program for that. But if you tore it and you're having rotator cuff tear and you want to know more about that too, it goes into real briefly, like what the rotator cuff is, the muscles, what they do, how that works. As a question and answer section, what are the symptoms of a tear if you think you have one? Any arm maneuvers that might indicate I have one? Where does it tear at? Here's a good question. Are there different kinds of rotator cuff tears? Yes, there are. I have a rotator cuff tear and I'm in a lot of pain. I need surgery, right? Well, not necessarily, because this is a very evidence-based book, and these are studies they go over in layman's terms, which I really like. Basically, to answer that question, they looked at all the studies where you take a group of people with torn rotator cuffs, you measure the size of the tear, and then you run a pain scale and see how bad are these people hurting. So interestingly enough, they found people with big tears of their rotator cuff that don't have any pain at all. So actually, it's entirely possible to have an asymptomatic rotator cuff tear. So you're having shoulder pain, might not necessarily be because of the torn rotator cuff. Could be other things as well. Likewise, they also find people can have a really small tear and be in excruciating pain. So here again, just because you tore your rotator cuff and have a lot of pain, not necessarily an indication that you got to have surgery. What will happen if I just leave my rotator cuff tear alone? Well, anybody who tears their cuff kind of wants to know that. What if I just let it go? So to answer that question, they look at studies where they take groups of people and they don't get any treatment for their rotator cuff, and you follow them for 5 or 10 years, and you find out, hey, what happened to them? Did they get better, same, worse? Here's probably the best question. How does exercise compare to surgery when it comes to treating a torn rotator cuff? Well, the only way you're going to really answer that, evidence-based medicine, is to look at the randomized controlled trials, which is the highest form of proof in medicine that a treatment's actually effective. So what you're going to do is you're going to, the randomized controlled trial would take, say, 100 people with rotator cuff tears, randomize 50 to surgery, and the other 50 do an exercise program. And then you follow them for, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 years. There's some good long-term follow-up studies, actually. This book compiled all the studies. The results are quite consistent, actually. I was surprised. Whether you do exercise, a good exercise program, or you have surgery, you're going to end up at the same place over time. So either way, you can't get out of doing the exercise. So to that end, they have an exercise program. It's 3 different levels. So if you can hardly move your arm, you can start at the beginning level. But if you just want to prevent a problem, or you can still do a lot of exercise, there's an advanced program. So yeah, I think shoulder stability, avoiding injuries, great for javelin throwers. But hey, yeah, if you're looking for a good book on technique, just talking about all the aspects of javelin throwing, I think this is a great resource. So definitely check it out.